Yeah, that was the next step. Am I still freezing up over here? I tell you, what am I gonna do? All right, fine. I hope this works. Okay, we make a siyum now in the first parak. We get to the second parak and go from there. We'll see how long it takes us to do, and then we'll and then we'll see if we can do maybe a musa or whatever. Okay, so we left off in the bottom of Chaf Amud base. Yes, we said the sugi that what happens if you find the receipt, and the receipt is in the Malva's Rishus, right? Meaning normally what happens is that a loiva, once he pays back the loan, he gets back a receipt from the Malva that he paid up the loan. So what happens if you find the receipt printed, but it's still in the Malva? So Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba says in the name of Rav that it's as if the receipt is worthless, even if the receipt is written in the handwriting of the that chiddush. Yeah, am I still good? Anybody, are you hearing me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
say because my service may be bad.
What?
It's also choppy by me a little bit. I hear you, but it's like choppy a little.
It's good
I'm
enough.
muted most of the time by the host, so what can I tell you?
G again.
Well, it's a good thing,
What?
Rachamim.
Frozen? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna call in. I'm ready. Okay, again, so sorry about all this. I don't know with the internet, but so we said that Rabbi Yirmiyah says in the name of Rav, if you find a receipt, even in the Malva's, not even if in the Malva's Rishus, since a receipt never doesn't really belong in the Malva's Rishus because it's supposed to be given to the loiva, so we assume that it's not a true receipt, and Mamela. It says the loiva is still going to have to pay back the loan. And the chiddush, an additional chiddush is even if it's in the handwriting of the loiva, it's still considered like it's not a good. It's not good. It's not a good receipt. Now the Gemara asks 3 kashas and 3 the same tirutzim, where 10 lines up on the bottom, second to the last one on line Tanan. Tanan and Yeshima and Samfunas. We said in our Mishnah that if there's these samfunas, which are basically receipts, yasim masher samfunas, then the malva should listen to whatever it says in the samfunas. And if the samfunas says that the loan was paid back, so then the loan is considered paid back. So that's a stira to Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, right? Because Rabbi Yirmiyah says you don't listen to the samfunas. So our answer is because Amar Rav Safra shenimta bein shtaros kruin, because that's talking about where the receipt was found amongst the shtaros, the torn up shtaros, meaning the junk shtaros that are already done. Right? So Mamela, the assumption is that the shtar was legitimate. Achanami shematzu ben shtaros kruin, and here too we found it in and where it's torn up and messed up, and the assumption is that the reason why he threw it away was because the loan is done with. But if it wouldn't be found where it's ripped up, then it would be no problem. Fine. Tashema nimtza la'echad bein shtaroso. It was found in amongst somebody's shtaros. Shtaros of Yosef ben Shimon Perua, and it says in there that the star of Yosef ben Shimon was paid up. Shtaros shneim Peruin, then it's both considered like it was paid. Right? So meaning the Malva can't go after Yosef ben Shimon because he assuming that these things were good and were good, because we're saying it's Perua. That's a kasha on Rav Yirei Rabba, who holds that it's not considered Perua. So Gemara answers again, where it was found amongst the staras that are Kruin. Here too, it's where it's found amongst the staras that are ripped. Fine. The third kasha, Toshima, Shvua, this is talking about when Yisayimim are collecting from Yisayimim. So it says Shvua Shalai Fakadnu Abba. The Shvua that our father didn't, Fakad literally means didn't answer you. Meaning where our father didn't come to collect from you. And our father didn't ever tell us that you owed him money. And we didn't find a star between you and our father either. The star is Perua. Meaning, and we never said amongst my father's stars that the star is paid up. Right? What was it, mashma? That let's say they would have found a star amongst their father's stars, then it would be paid. Then they would be able to take payment from it. Right? So you see that there is such a concept of if you find the star Perua and the rishus of the malvas, that is considered paid up. And again, the same thing. That's talking about where it was found with the star amongst the ripped up stars. Fine. Fourth kasha, Tashema, Simfon Sheyeshalam Eidim. So we have a Simfon that has an Eidim, Yiskayim v'Chasamav. Then you should be Mekayim it with the signatures. Right? So this one's a little different because there you're not gonna. It says if you find a Simfon, then you should be Mekayim it with the Eidim, right? And then if the Eidim come and say this is a legitimate star, now the Eidim don't know whether it was paid back. They're just not admitting. They're saying that the first star was a legitimate star. So if that's the case, so then it's mashma that the star will be considered legitimate. That's also a kasha. So the Gemara says, and then this one, the previous terusim that you found it amongst ripped up stars is not going to work. The Gemara says, Ema Yiskayim Meichai Samav. What we're going to say is that you should be Mekayim it from their signatures. What does this mean? On Talmud Aleph now. The Shailina Lahu Lasadi, we ask the Eidim, Yiperua, Eloi Perua, whether it was paid or whether it was not paid. Right? Meaning we ask the Eidim, did they see it get paid? If they saw it get paid, then it's considered paid. He doesn't go after him. But if not, then he would if not, then he doesn't go after him.
How are
That's what
the Eidim are Eidim on the loan? They're not on Eidim
right.
on what was paid back. What are they supposed to stick around for a few years until the loan's paid? How could they be? They could be the same. Possibly be the same Eidim on the payback.
No, I think what I 100%. I hear what you're saying. I think what it's saying is that if for some reason these Eidim can prove it, so then that's what we go with. But if they can't prove it, then that's it. Then the star isn't. It's the receipt. It's no good. I think it's exactly what you're saying. In all probability, they won't be able to prove it. If they could prove it, then fine. That's
It's
I think
it's
that
mashma from the
I
Gemara,
think
not like
exactly what
that.
you're saying.
It's mashma from the Gemara that they can say either way. Gemara says the shailina lulasadi iparua iloi parua. You can't ask them if
Right.
it's not paid. You can ask them if it's paid.
Exactly right. You ask them if it's paid. If they say it's paid, fine. If they don't say it's paid, which is in all probability, meaning if they say they don't know whether it was paid, then you're not gonna trust it, right?
So the loi parua of the Gemara is irrelevant.
The loy parua, Enochanami, you're right. You want to say, I mean, at least yes, according to my understanding, I agree with you. Right? Yeah, 100%. Okay, weiter. The Tashma Simfon Sheyeshel of Adim kosher. Simfon that has Adim on it is kosher. So you see, that's a kasha on Rav on Rav. Well, it's a kasha on Rav, right? Because he says that a simfon has Adim, it's kosher. So Gemara says, "My Adim Edekiyum." It means Edekiyum, meaning, like we said before, Adim that the star really works. Meaning, because even Rav Yirmiyah is Maida, that if you can prove with Aiden that this receipt or the simfon or whatever it is good, then it's considered good, and that's it. So when it says Hachanam Stavra, that makes sense. When the Ketani says for Shein Olav Adim puzzle, and there's no Adim on it, then it's puzzle. My Ein Olav Adim. What does it mean there's no Adim? Ilay Medeleke Love Adim Klal. If there's no Adim at all, the puzzle. You need to go if there's no Adim on it, so then it's puzzle. Of course, every star is going to be puzzle. There's no Adim. Elolav Adikiyam. So it must be that it's there's two sets of Adim on the star, and then there's Adim that the signatures were legitimate. But Kufa, the Gemara says, Simfon Sheyeshel of Adim. If you have a receipt that has Adim on it, Yiskayim b'chaysamav, then be Mekayim with the signatures. Ain't a love Adim, but if there's no Adim, the Yaitz Matachas Yedei Shlish, and it goes out from a third guy, right? Meaning they got a third party, like an arbitrator involved, who said he's going to hold on to the stock. Or if it went out after the shtaros were already signed, meaning it not went out. If the receipt is on the bottom of the star, meaning there was a star, it had Adim, and then under the Adim they said, oh, this star was paid. So meaning if you have two cases, you either have the star, the paid receipt went to a third party, or the third party said that he was in charge of the receipt and or the whole loan, or these Adim are under it. Kosher, meaning the Adim that was paid, then it's kosher. Yotimitachas Yedei Shlish, if it goes out from under a third party, meaning there's a third party here, the Hemne Malva Lishlish. Because obviously the Malva believed the Shlish, because he's willing to even give a receipt to the Malva, to the third party, to give it to the Loiva. That's obviously a large amount of trust, and then whatever the Shlish says, so then that will go. And if the receipt goes under the signatures of the Adim, that's also the ilav the priya, because if it wouldn't be that it was paid, like have a mora leila, then he would not have made his star bad by writing a receipt. Meaning, when this lender writes a receipt, that's risky business, because if that receipt gets out and it's not true, he's never going to get paid back, right? So since he wrote that receipt and he put it under the signature, so then that is going to be considered a good receipt. Okay, Hadran Aloch Shnayim Eichsen L'chaim. I don't know if Peretz is drunk still. Yeah.
L'chaim.
When the Gemara brings this gufa,
Should have known better. I would have stayed. Now, had I known, I would have stayed.
Yeah. Yeah, I told you, Peretz, that we're making a scene.
I didn't
Yeah.
hop.
Anyway,
I
go
thought it
ahead.
was 5 o'clock, not 6.
I hear. Okay. Yeah, what are you saying, Gashin?
When the Gemara brings this gufa, simple is it
Yeah.
falling off from the like 6 lines ago? The last line of Omid base, where we just switched it to Yiskai Meifesama.
Again, what are you saying?
The last line on Chaf Omid base. Switch Yiskai Bifesama to Yiskai Meifesama.
Right.
Are we falling off of that when the Gemara says gufa now?
Why should we?
Because it just put it back to Bifesama with a base.
I mean, because the Lashon changed. Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering that when I learned it, and then I forgot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's is that something to be Medayakin? Wasn't sure. Yeah. Okay, it's getting late over here for the Mincha. People, those are going to Mincha. Okay, new parak. Eilu Metzias, right? Let's see if anybody remembers this from 5th grade or summer camp or, yeah. It's much easier Gemara than the previous 10 days. Yeah, so Zog the Mishnah. Eilu Metzias. Right? These are the Metzias. I mean, there are going to be kashas on this too, but like every other Gemara, but it's a whole lot easier. Eilu Metzia Shaloi, meaning these are the Metzias that if a person finds it, they become his. Eilu Chayiv Lahachas, and these are the ones that he's Chayiv Lahachas. And of course, in Yonah Deyoma, I lost my Megillah on the plane last night. So, yeah, somebody was messing with my bag in the overhead bin, and it must have fallen out.
Are you
So
Miyayish?
now I'm wondering. I am not Miyayish because I think the plane that I was on, I think it fell into the back, the back of those overhead bins. I'm choshed it's still there. And the plane that I was on last night, I think my kids are taking tonight from JFK, and they're sitting in the same row. So I'm hoping that it was not Miyayish. I'm hoping that they'll go and look up there and see it, but I have no. That's just maybe a pipe dream. But I'm just wondering that let's say El Al has a lost and found. Do I have a siman on it? Do I not? I think I do have a siman on it. I just wonder what the not from how like when you go to lost and found in the airport, how do you prove? What's their parameters for proving it?
You have it in a
I
box?
think if you're going to ask for
Yeah, I had it in the
a
case.
Megillah,
What are you missing? The Megillah?
Megillah, yes.
Well, isn't your name Mordechai?
That's not no. Anyways, listen, I'm happy because I brought a Megillah for somebody else. That one didn't fall out, so this was only mine. But all right, whatever it is. So I'm holding in the sugi of Eilu Metzias now. So yeah. And anyways, so Eilu Metzias Shaloi, these are the Metzias that you're allowed to keep. Meaning, so let's say somebody would find this Megillah on the plane. Would he be able to keep it or not? So l'chayra, the reason why you'd be able to keep it is if you have something called yish, meaning if the owner, how do you type yish? The word, gives up, but there's a more complicated, sophisticated word.
abandonment.
Despaired of
Oh, despaired. Yeah, despaired. That's the word they use. Very good. Despaired, I think. Yeah. Anyway, so if the owner despaired, so then whoever picks it up, it becomes his. And we're going to see throughout the Gemaras in the next week or so, is that you can, if the owner was miyayish, then even if you walk by the guy in the street and the guy sees that you have his lost object, you get to keep it. You don't have to give it back, because if he was miyayish, makes it that he lost it. So that's what the first thing the Mishnah says. Eilu Metzias Shaloi. These are the Metzias that becomes his. Eilu Chayiv Lahachas, and these are the ones you have to announce. The ones you have to announce is going to be in the next Mishnah. But the reason why you have to announce it is because probably somebody didn't give it up, and they're gonna want to get their lost object back. Now there's two aveira, there's two mitzvahs, maybe even three that you have with a Shabbos. There's a mitzvah saseh of Hoshev. How's it go? Hoshev Tashiv. You have to. There's a mitzvah to give it back, and then there's a lav of lesucha lesale that you can't walk by it because as we're going to see in these gemaras, it's a big headache to find an aveda. So it's sort of like when you see an aveda in the street, the first thing you want to do is look the other way, so that you don't have the problems. But that's an issa deraisa. It's a lav to do that. So that's the problem, right? So basically, you want to look up in the streets because you don't want to find the lost object on the floor, and everybody, all the rabbis are telling, well, look down because of preachers. So you're really stuck. Which way? You're a little stuck which way to go in the streets. All right. So, anyways, Elu Metzia Shaloi, these are the ones that he gets to keep. Matzah Peres Mefuzar. If you find Peres spread out all over the street, Ma'is Mefuzar, money spread out. Prichas Rishus Harabim, small bundles of grain in Rishus Harabim. The Gulei Devela, cakes, round cakes of figs. Figs, they made it into these round cakes. People give them out Shalach Monas. Kikros Shal Nachtem, or bakery, bread from a bakery. Machruzah Shal Dogim, you know the way they would hang the fish up on strings or whatever it is. Chaticha Shabasa, pieces of meat. Izei Tzemer, shearings of wool, halakuchim mimitinasan, that come from their medinas. Banitze Pishtan, and bundles of flax. Ulashayna Shel Argomon, and Argomon is a Purim, right? It's a Purim word. Lashon literally means a tongue of purple wool. Right? Maybe they made it, they stretched it, and they combed it. Harei L'Shalevi all become his, and meaning because it's considered an instant use. There, Meir, that's Shitas Remeir. Yudaimer Kol Sheyesh by Shinoi, Chayiv La'achas. If there's a Shinoi in it, then you're Chayiv to be Machas, meaning there's something different about it, which then the person's not going to be Meyayish on it, then you're Mechuyev to call it out. Ketzad, what's the case? Matzah Ogel, he found a round cake, Ubasayche Cheres, and inside the cake, meaning he had this round cake of figs, and inside of it was this piece of Cheres, Kikar Ubasayche Moy, so he had a loaf, and inside was money, and he had a loaf of bread with money, and so that's a weird thing. So if a guy is hiding money in his bread, and he drops his bread, he's not going to be Meyayish, because somebody finds it, is going to say, like, 1 second, this is weird. Let me try and find the rightful owner. Any kli on Puria, which the Gemara is going to say means like a brand new kli that somebody just bought, like a new kais, and he's not yet familiar enough with it to know the ins and outs of it, meaning to know the simonim. So therefore, it's not his. Right, meaning he's meyayish, ain't chayiv lahachris. You're not chayiv to be machris, which is interesting lashon. You're not chayiv to be machris. That's mashma that if you want, that you can't. Right, you're not chayiv to be machris. It sounds like it's better. It's better to be machris. Right, so I'm not sure what to do with that. Yeah.
Could it Tzurma Rabbanan have Taviyas Ayin on it?
Tzurma Rabbanan got Taviyas Ayin on anything, no?
I don't know, on a brand new Kli, I don't know if that's possible. But if it is, that could be the Ein Chayiv La'achris. I mean, Minastam, there's no one can have a simon on it. It's a brand new Kli. But if it's Tzurma Rabbanan, can have a Taviyas Ayin.
Right. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's see the Gemara. So matzah peres v'zaron. So it says that you find peres that are spread out. The comma, how much is it? Right, how much is spread out? Meaning pshat isn't spread out, that the guy gives up. And he gives up on it. So how much is that? So kama. Amar Yitzchak kav arba amas, it's one kav of spread out over 4 amas. So that's too spread out. It's too big a headache. And sometimes, you're walking in the street and you drop a place, you're eating popcorn and you spill the popcorn out. Right? And so you're not going to go pick it up. It's too big a headache. Right? So we're saying that a kav of fruit, right, is within 4 amas is too big a headache. Hechi dummy. So then what's the case? Eat derech nefila. If it looks like it fell, meaning when you find these fruit, looks like it fell down, zafilu tuvanami, then even if it's more, there's no siman. What siman are you going to have on fruits that fell? What siman can you possibly have? Even if it's more, you should be able
more
to
what?
get it.
More a cup, more than a cup, right? Not more than Abrahamis.
Either way, anything.
No, if it's more than Abrahamis, it's
More a kav.
more. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to see. Gemara's going to go through all the options and end up with a teku, right? But it means, yeah, if it fell and it's clear that it fell, so forget it. So that means it fell. So the guy, of course, he's gonna have no siman on it. And if it looks like he put it there, even if it's less than a kav and dalar amas. If somebody put something specific there, and it looks like he dafka placed it there, then for sure it's going to be okay. So we're talking about the threshing floor. The machnashta of the beidari is the threshing floor, meaning, and that's where you put and that's where this extra grain was there. So to get a cup of grain within 4 amas, that's a big headache. A person is not going to be matriach himself to go back to the granary to get it. He's not going to go take it. Afkure mafkalahu, but he's going to be mafkure. But less than this, but less than this, then he's going to be matriach himself, and he's going to go back and take it.
Is
But
that
mafkalu, and he's not going to be mafkure.
is that a shtickle subjective?
And this is all subjective. But the Gemara is making it not subjective. The Gemara is saying what would be the normal thing for somebody to do.
Because of that will make it
Right.
possible. Because of that will possibly guys that it's hefker.
Yeah. I understand your kasha. It comes up. This thing comes up a lot, like with chatzitza for women's tefillah. So it's one of the longest simanim, if not the longest siman in Hilchos Nida. About what's a chatzitza, what's not. Why doesn't the Shulchan Aruch just say whatever the woman thinks, and that's it? Right? It goes through all these examples.
Something the nail, right? Nail polish, or I don't know, whatever.
Right, all that type of stuff. Right, all that type of stuff. And then, but we try and figure out we try and make it not subjective. Yeah. So boy Rav Yirmiyah, so Rav on a shadow. Hatzi kav b'shtei amas ma'o. What's the din? Half a kav and 2 amas. I mean, again, we said 1 kav, 4 amas. Okay. So what happens if we take half the food and half the area? Right? Kav arba amas taimamai. Why is it kav arba amas? Because it's a big tircha. Hatzi kav b'shtei amas, but 2 kav and 2 amas. Even the loy novish, it's not such a big tircha. 2 amas. What is that? 2.5 feet. So what's the big deal to pick such stuff up? So like mafkali wouldn't be mafkarit. Or maybe half a kav, maybe a kav is not chashuv, and if a kav is not chashuv, then a half a kav is certainly not chashuv. The chatzi kav b'shteyam is giving the loy chashivi, mafkalu, right? Then he's going to be mafkarit. That's shaila number 1. Fine. Now the other way. Yeah.
I have written on the side of my Gemara kasha that I had years ago. This kasha that he has, it's not half the volume and half the area. It's half the volume and a quarter of the area. It went from 4 by 4 amas to 2 by 2.
Yeah. So what are you saying? You mean it
It's
shouldn't work? It
included-
shouldn't work in tandem.
Included in the kasha is the fact that it's worth less. So built into that is okay. So if it's worth that much less, and you really wouldn't be worried about it, so we have to take into account that it's a quarter of the area, not just half the area. Half the area is a given. He wouldn't care about it.
So what I'm saying, you're asking a kasha, you're making a stand. What are you saying?
No, it's just an interesting Gemara. It's an interesting point the Gemara seems to be making.
I always thought this was the same density. The same density.
It's not the same density.
I always thought this was a kasha because it's
It's
the same
double the
density, but
density.
it's a smaller, since it's a
It's not.
smaller amount. Is it the same kasha? It's not, and that's the kasha is at the same density but a smaller amount. Is he also going to be miyayish on it?
But it's not the same density. That's my point. This is double the density of the original.
It's the
How
same
can you say
ratio.
that it's not the same density?
That is after Mincha Meirav.
Because it's half the volume and a quarter of the area. That's double the density.
Why do you say it's a quarter of the area?
Guys, you can argue this
Guys, we gotta
after
move along. We're
Mincha
just gonna mute
Meirav.
everybody.
After
Gotta move.
Mincha Meirav, you can have your science class.
I hear the point. Okay, I hear the point. Okay, let's go back. So Kvaim Shmoin Amas Ma. What about 2 kavs and 8 amas? Right, kav arba amas time amai. Mishum the nafesh tuchayu. It's a big headache. So the culture came Kvaim Shmoin Amas. If 2 and 4 amas is a big headache, mine is Rachamim and Gershon's machloikis. So culture came 2 kavs. Right, 2 kavs and 8 amas, right? Even the fisha terchai, it's say mafkalu. Since there's a bigger tircha, so then Avadi is going to be mafkalu. Maybe the reason why kav is not chashuv, kvayim b'shmoin amas, 2 kav and 8 amas is. Even the chashivi, he's like mafkalu. Since it's chashuv, he's not mafkalu. Fine. That's shaila number 2. Shaila number 3, kav shumshimin. So shumshimin is what you call that, sesame seeds. And it's very small, and it's a big tircha to gather them. But Rashi says they're very expensive. Right, so now you're a winner from all sides. Kabar ba'amas time of mine, mishum delay chashivi. The shumshim and kimi the chashivi, since they're chashiv, loy mavgalu is not maskeret. I don't mishum the nafesh tuchayu, or maybe because it's a big tircha. The culture came shumshim, and for sure shumshim and kimi the nafesh tuchayu. Since it's even harder, because since they're small, so mafkalu, then for sure he's going to be mafkaret. Fine. Next child, look, kav timri ba'arba amas, a kav of dates in 4 amas, a kav rimayni ba'arba amas, meaning it's not grain. These are bigger fruits. Kav arba's time, why is it a kav of arba amas? Mishum delay chashivi. Because it's not chashuv. So kav timri ba'aramas, kav rimani ba'aramas, kivan delay chashivi. This is not so chashuv. Mafkalu is going to be mafkarit. I tell them mishum the nefishi terchayu, or maybe because grain is much smaller, so it's a big tircha. Kav timri ba'aramas, kav rimani ba'aramas, and pomegranates and dates. Even the light navash is not a big deal to pick up a few pomegranates over an area of 2.5 square feet, right? Like mafkalu. So he wouldn't be mafkar mai. So what's the din? Teku, so it'd be a teku, which was getting into Zebot Shiloh. Like, so it's a teku. Why not just say? I guess you can't know the truth. You don't know who to find it, and why not just say it goes bust to the person? But if you knew who the person was, then then you would know that you would give it back to him. So it can't be that we go with an average person. Fine. Itmar, one of the most major machlokes in Shas. Yeah, Itmar. Antam Abayz now. Yish shaloi midas. Yish shaloi midas. Meaning, what is it? What is yish shaloi midas? It means that normally, if the person would know that he lost it, he would be miyayish. But he doesn't yet know that he lost it. So therefore, right now he's not miyayish. But then we look at it like he is miyayish. Meaning, I didn't discover my Megillah was missing until a good bunch of hours after I was already in the apartment that I'm staying. Right? So let's say a Megillah has a siman, so it doesn't count. So let's say it was would have been a few dollars, and I didn't chop till then, and somebody picked it up in the airport. So now I didn't know about it yet, but had I known about it, I would have said, forget it, I'm never getting it back. So is he kind it already from then? Now that's what Yish Shalom Vidas is. So Yish Shalom Vidas, that's not Yish, because the bottom line is the guy was not miyayish. Yes, if he would know about it, he'd be miyayish, but lamaisa, he was not miyayish. He was not miyayish because he didn't know about it. Rava says, have a yish. It is a yish, right? Meaning, even though he doesn't know that he lost it yet, but since had he known he lost it, then that would be that. So then he would be miyayish. So we look at it like it's miyayish now. So bedavar sheyesh by siman, if it has a siman on it. Everybody holds it's not yish, right? Because that's pashut. V'avagav the shamina the miyayish l'saif. Even though we hear that in the end he was miyayish, lo yav yish. It's still not yish. Because when the person found it, if it had a siman on it, when the person found it, the assumption was that the owner was not miyayish because he says, "I'm going to give the siman," right? So. Memela, like me with this Megillah, I'm clearly not miyayish yet because I think there's simonim that somebody would try and track down the owner. There's no name on it. That's the only thing, but that would be a good idea. But there's no, as far as I know, there's no name on it. So Visura do the Asliyade. So if a guy would take it, even though maybe I would be miyayish after that, meaning if lost and found and LL doesn't have it, and they don't find it on the plane, then l'chayra I'm going to be miyayish. Why would anybody ever find it? Right? So, but the guy when he took it, I was not miyayish. So then he doesn't get it. Till if he ordered the nafal minay, loy miyayish, because when it fell from him, he wasn't miyayish. Emar Amar simona is to be because he's going to say, I have a simon. Give him a simona of a shekil. I'm going to give a simon. I'm going to take it. That's a given. When did the simon? There's no machlokes by and Rava. The Zuta shel Yam, but uv'shalisa shel Nahar, if the high tide comes and comes and grabs onto the thing and brings it out to the water, or the river comes and over, how do you call it? It floods. The river floods. Avagav the ispace, and then even if there is a simon Rachmana Shaya, the Torah even allows that. Why could there be no like we're going to say further, right? Which is going to be in tomorrow's daf. Which basically, the reason is because everybody once the water takes it away, everybody's miyayish. Keep ligi b'davar she'ein b'simin. The machlokes is when there's no simin. Abayam lo have a yish to lo yada nofal minay. It's not yish. How can you say he was miyayish so that the guy that found it keeps it? He didn't know that it fell from him. And Rava Amar have a yish, it's a yish. The second he finds out that it fell from him, miyayish, he's going to be miyayish. Meimar Omar, Simona Lesi, he's going to say, I have no simin. Mehashtu the miyayish. So he's going to be miyayish from now. So that's the Yisayidus thing of Machlokes between Abai and Rava. So the Gemara now is going to go through about a block's worth of kashas on each side. The first bunch coming up right now, I think it's 7 of kashas that are on kashas on Abaya and proofs to Rava. Tashma. And most of them are from our Mishnah. So again, Rava holds that as long as the guy will eventually be miyayish, then we say that if the yish will kick itself back, and the yish will happen from when it fell, even if he's not aware of when it fell. So Peiros Mefuzorin, it says if you find fruit spread out, he didn't know that the fruit fell from it. The one answers, right, the Bach changed it back to Beidori. It's talking about, like we said in the Gemara on Amud Aleph, it's talking about where the fruit was left in the grain place. He knew good and well that he left it there. Right? Fine. The next one. Money spread out belongs to him. Why? He didn't know. He didn't know the money fell. Awesome. Now because Rabbi Yitzchak. There is going like Rabbi Yitzchak. Damar Adam Asi L'Mashash V'Kisai B'Chol Shah V'Shah. money, people are constantly checking their wallets at every hour. So Mamela, he's going to know pretty fast that the money's missing, meaning somebody doesn't just not check his wallet for a long time, right? He checks it every hour. I don't think show means stuff every hour. It's sort of the same way guys constantly checking their stock portfolio, at least if it's making money. So you don't have any right. We said the figs, the round cake of figs, or loaves of bread. He doesn't know that it fell from him. Since it's heavy, made the yodabu. He's gonna know good and well that when these figs and these loaves of bread fall down. So Mela, it's gonna be a use right away. We said tongues of wool, purple wool. Why? He didn't know that it fell from him. Since there are chashuv, he's always feeling to them, like Rav Yitzchak said, which means that he's going to know right away when it falls from him. Somebody finds money in the base of Knesset and the base medrash, in any place that is public, because the and he doesn't know yet they're miyayish. This is probably the most common Hashavas Aveda Shaila that I get. Money found in yeshiva, either on the table or on the floor, in the hallway, in the candy machine, or money found in a grocery store, in the parking lot of a grocery store. The halach is pretty clear that since it's a rabbin there, and it becomes yours right away because you're miyayish. So the Gemara is assuming in the kasha at least that the guy didn't know about that it fell from him, and yet we're saying that he was miyayish. So Rav Yitzchak, same teretz. A person's always feeling for his wallet, so he's going to know it fell. Fine. Right? We had this in Peah. We had this in the last parak. Right? When do we know? When does everybody become mutter in leket? When the nemushas go over the field. Ramina, my nemushas. He said, what are nemushas? Yitzchak Sabi, Dazla Tigra. It's the elders that go on canes. Meaning, so they work very slow, and they're looking for every little piece. If they've already gone on that field, then nobody else is going to go on that field. They're going to assume that if these guys are done with it, then for sure there's nothing left. There are certain people that go back twice to see if they missed anything. Once those guys are out of the field, everybody's out of the field. So the Gemara asks, it's very nice that aniyim in this town that see this old man or these people that go over the field twice, so they're miyayish. But there's aniyim in another place. So you go, they're not miyayish on this field because they have no idea. Right? They have no idea if this field was abandoned or not abandoned, but whether he was miyayish. But you see this yish, even though not all the aniyim were miyayish. So when it answers Amri Kiva Dika Aniyim, since there are aniyim here, Hanach Meikara, Ayusha miyayish. The other aniyim were already miyayish. He said, I'm not going to that other town to their fields, right? Because aniyim the hasa malakti, like aniyim over there are the ones that are malakit it, right? Okay, does the oilam need to go down mincha, or those that down mincha and finish?
It's kind of interesting. You say miyayish is normally going on somebody who has bilus, but the aniyim, this produce is mutter to the aniyim, but it doesn't mean that they have bilus over it. So if unless they all got together, all the aniyim in the world would get together and be miyayish at one time. So then it would become like hefker. But anyway, it's like hefker for the aniyim. And even for an usher, since an usher could come and get it, because he can always say he can be mafkir his belongings, and he becomes an ani right away, and he's able to take it there. So what kind of yish is this? This is
he's not able to take it, Rahman. He's not able to take it. He can take it and be makle it to an ani. He can't take it for himself because it's not his.
No,
He has to be mafkir
he's
all his
mafker,
zechus in
if
order to take it.
he's mafker all his stuff, he becomes an oni. Then he could take somebody. But he did. The yish that's happening on the payers there is we're talking about yish on aniyim who never had a real tefisa on the produce. They only have a tefisa on because the Torah tells her you can have the have the payer. You know,
We had this a few times. Rachman, we had this.
yeah.
Relative to aniyim, for non-aniyim, aniyim have a bailus on it. It's a relative thing.
I'm just gonna step in and say, Tiago, the referee called the game, right? You called the game already? Game's over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Call the game. Yeah, call the game.
Well,
We'll let him
game's
argue
over.
it. Yeah.
What does
Okay,
that mean?
guys, thank you.
What did that mean? Did you know? Help me out.
No,
Here's-
That
meaning
means the
That means that
over.
Tiago asked the question and you didn't answer the question.
what?
The rabbi
that-
asked
that-
if anyone
the-
needs to go to mincha, and you responded whether someone needs to go to mincha with, they have no bailim on it.
Okay,
Whatever.
but I
Fine.
missed
Either
the
way,
game.
we're stopping. We'll stop it. We'll stop it over here. We'll stop it over tomorrow, 5:45. Tomorrow's 5:45. So why?
That's
So
exciting.
1 second. Now that the oilam can log off, now you guys could argue a little bit, but I want to go to sleep. But
Have a good nap.
it's yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Hashem and Molly, chasrancha.
It's good. It's good. You know what I mean? Not to get sleep to learn is a good thing. It's the way it's supposed to be done. But
I think you meant the Megillah.
The same. What?
I meant
I think you meant the Megillah. Oh, the Megillah. Well, I wasn't Miyayish yet. I wasn't. Rachman, you're Miyayish.
You should be Zayka to a Purim Nace. That's completely within the
I'm
Teva,
not
but it's
Miyayish.
extra.
Yeah.
He'll find a Megillah that was written backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But no, I'm saying, but it's not the way I understood it is the same way a kohen is considered the balabas on truma, right? I think no. I would always say I'm
Yeah. We had that. We had that comparison. The same way that truma is considered mammon kayanim, even according to Metzia Galili, old visual and Gevaykas. So aniyim for sure have a bailus over Meiser Ani and Laka Peah Shikha, Eilulus. It's a relative. That's what I'm saying. It's a relative thing. The non-kayanim, it belongs to kayanim, Truma and Trumas Meiser. The non-aniyim, Meiser Ani, and all the other matnas aniyim belong to aniyim. They have a bailus.
Right. I hear.
Okay.
Well, saying so that's. But I'm saying that's like the matnas aniyim.
Right. I'm saying the same as you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But Siak, have you heard what I was asking before on the density thing?
Yeah, I hear it. I'm not sure how it works.
It seems to me that it's a deeper question than what I was taught to believe in 5th grade. It's not just an area versus chashivas question. It includes the density. Rachman, you understand what I was saying?
I didn't agree with what you. I think you were saying that the density is different.
It is.
Right. That's why. That's why
So
I didn't agree with it.
So Daled Amos means Daled by Daled,
No,
right?
I didn't want to learn it that way because if you learn it that way, that's a square, then you're right. Then you're right. The density is different. But I was looking at it like this was a daled would be 4 square amas, and days would be 2 square amas, and therefore you would have exactly the same ratio, meaning the same density, but you have less of the product. So that when you have less of the product, so then that takes away from its chashivas also.
Right. I think the menastam daladamas means daladamas. It says daladamas shal adam is his kind of right. That means 4 amas squared or 4 square amas.
When the Torah is talking about the mizbeach, it uses the term ravua in order to tell you it's a square. It could have just had $4 al dalet, but I wouldn't know it's a parallelogram. But it could say ravua. It could say I don't. That's how I always thought it would be. I hear what you're saying. I just didn't know if we're really forced to say that it's I thought the kasha was better if you had the same ratio, the same density. I thought the kasha was better then.
I would say that's not a kasha, because if that's a kasha, then what's kav ba'arba amas? It's the same problem. And when the Gemara says kav ba'arba amas, it's completely meaningless.
Well, when you have,
it's only one case. The Gemara is not explaining anything. If someone drops in the threshing area 1 kav of wheat, which spreads in 4 square amas, that's it. There's no other case that could be compared to it. Not even with grain. In other words, if one of those grains goes out of those 4 square amas, you're done. That's teku. It has to be that with the same density. It's the same thing as kav ba'arba amas. 4 kav in 8 amas would be the same exact thing. No different.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
Is
anybody else still on to say Tillim? Is anybody else still on to say that? I can't see who's on because I'm only
There's
calling
7
you.
of us here, including us. Yeah.
Oh, you need a minion?
No,
No,
but not a Mizuman though.
no, just 3 people left. I don't know, whatever it is. I don't know how many we're on.
1 second. So how many are on now?
7.
Okay, so let's say it. Okay, Pigyum.
Okay.
Yashim is well also Lima Damilach. I'll take her to Tishkarel, Kine, Yachi Yamon, Masanaka no Suraj. Alam Khayur Musar, you see also what's Sunaka, Amul Lukuban Achine, Magavi, Lizak, Shemi Salid. You know, to leave Yachta, Valacha, Besichrai, so Allah Adam Yishmael, Yava, Grim, Guava, Aman, Malik, Plashes, and Yashvetzar. Come Ashanova, Imam, Israel of Nela, Tella, Salem, committed, Kisser of Yavam, Nacha, Kishan. This will do, Bain Dari, Damil, Adamak, she said, the Devana, Kaiwa, the Zev, the Zev, the Murakon, the Chema. Shar Amul, the Shalom, West, Nice, Aliyim. Elay Hai, she said, Kagago, Kakash, the Fnei Ruach. Kesh Tava Yorach Lavat Lai Torim. Can't do the famous Sarach, which is what's the Valim. Malay Finim calling Vaksha Shimcha, they die, Yavoshi Bala Vidayad, Yakri Vedu, Yedu Kiata Shimcha, the Nela Vadecha, Yona Koloret. Yona Komisi Solar, Sarah, Sarah, Shiva, Yam, the Vim, Yam, Vim, Bosham, Mokem Yafim, Alayev, Yasem, and Solar, Racha, my fail, Lawyer, Mashiva, the Gula. Stomach, my Karim, and Amara. All right.
Yashikayach.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Everybody should have a fine night.
Amen.
Okay. All right. Bye. Say good night. Bye.